Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Welcome into the Steelers Talk Live Show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. The man waving that towel still is Mr. Jeffrey Cooperstein, our producer. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's program. We got a bunch of great Steelers content coming your way. We got 4 segments coming your way on today's live stream. So we got a lot to get to today. First up, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers, specifically a potential new timetable for the Aaron Rodgers decision. So we will discuss that at the top of today's show. Then we'll get into my reasoning for why I think the Pittsburgh Steelers must pay up and extend TJ Watt this offseason. Then we'll get into my perfect post-draft offseason plan. 4 moves to put the cherry on top of an offseason here in 2025, and then we'll get into our mailbag. We haven't done a mailbag in a while, Coop. It's been mostly mock drafts, but we're going to get back to our mailbags here during the offseason here. So if you have a question and you want to get on the show, use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the mailbag later today. If you want to guarantee your spot on the mailbag, you guys can Super Chat any dollar amount, and we will make sure it gets on the mailbag today. But if you want to put your question up to Coop's discretion here, you guys can use hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat. So, for example, you guys can go hashtag Steelers. Will Caleb Johnson win Offensive Rookie of the Year this year? And I'll give you my take on the mailbag. All right. So, what's up?
Will he?
I don't think the chances are 0. But, yeah, if you guys want to get your questions in, hashtag Steelers or Super Chat, greatly appreciate your guys' support. So, Coop, let's talk about this for a second here, because now we're into the month of May, and the Aaron Rodgers saga continues onward. We have been almost waiting 2 months at this point for a decision from Rodgers, and it still hasn't come. So, my question to all of you out there, true or false, Rodgers will be a Steeler by the end of the month of May. What do you think, Coop?
Yes, I think he is.
I think he is too.
I think he is by the end of May. It just seems like there's too much going on in the direction of him signing with the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree. It's Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what could happen? He could still retire, but he would be the biggest piece of shit ever at this point to, have the Steelers believe, because the Steelers clearly believe he's going to sign.
That's why.
So whatever he's telling, so whatever he's telling them, it's what the Steelers want to hear. All right. Other than, let's sign a contract. He's giving them every single signal. He wants to play for them this year. He wants to play, and he wants to play for the Steelers. Every signal he has given the Steelers has said that. So if he just comes out of nowhere and says, "You know what? Fuck him. I'm gonna retire. I will hate him for the rest of my life," and that's not an over-exaggeration. All right. He better be a Steeler, or I will hate him for the rest of my life. And Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin's jobs are officially like red hot if they don't get Rodgers, because they put all of their eggs into this guy's basket this offseason, including drafting a quarterback, but only in the 6th round. They didn't take one early. If they end up not getting Rodgers and they have Mason Rudolph or Will Howard start for them this year and they win 4 or 5 games as a result in a year where they were trying to win now, both these guys might be gone.
If they don't get Rodgers, will there be a crash out on live?
Yes. If he retires, you guys will. I don't really crash out all that much, guys. I've maybe had a couple, 2 or 3 maybe, crash outs in the history of this channel. But if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire, I will crash out. I guarantee you.
I want it to happen.
I guarantee it, man. I think it would be a lot of fun for the rest of the people here at Chat Sports, because I would lose my shit. But no, I do think he will sign on, and I'll let you guys know the potential timeline for him to sign later in today's show. If you guys want to send in a donation, we greatly appreciate your guys' support. We are going to be giving away a Steelers jersey whenever Rodgers does make his final decision. It's a $20 jersey raffle, so if you guys want to put in a $20 donation, whether that's a Super Chat or whether that's Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal, you guys get a raffle ticket. And if you use Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal for that $20 donation, you guys actually get 2 raffle tickets. So you double your raffle tickets when you donate via Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal. You can find me at Jack Sperry on Venmo, # Captain Jack 19 on Cashapp, or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. All that information's in the comments and description of today's live stream. And we've got our first super chat of the day. Justin Yankuski, my man. He says, which is most likely? Steelers trade for Pickett. 2, Sanders is cut before week 1. 3, Tomlin goes on a darkness retreat.
I'll put number 3 as the most likely.
I will give my answer to this on the mailbag. But good question, Justin. Very creative.
Number 3, followed by number 2, followed by number 1.
Can you imagine Tomlin in a darkness retreat, man?
Yes.
That'd be unbelievable, man. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to get into today. So before we get into it, make sure you guys spam those me's if you haven't already. We want to get those likes going here. Over 150 people watching already here, guys. We need to get to at least 40 likes before we can start today's show. So we're up to 24 likes right now. We need to get to 40 before we can get into our first segment. So let's give some shout-outs here.
Ali, yes, your hat is on the way.
Ali, your hat is on the way. Appreciate you, Ali. We've got Ali in the chat. We've got a fan of your channel. Appreciate you. We've got Charmander and Froky, $5 super chat. We'll get to that here in just a second. Sheldon is here. Pat Lepla is here. Hi, Pat. We got Gen05, Grandpa. We've got Lloyd Rice Cook. We've got Cassie Voth, my beautiful girlfriend, is here, of course. We got Kevin Reed.
Cassie,
got Jake Knudsen.
I hear there's some debate about where you're going to dinner tonight.
Yeah, we might talk about this a little bit later, but, we were thinking about Olive Garden, but I don't know. We had kind of a big lunch here today. I don't know if I'm feeling like as much food as Olive Garden tonight.
I don't really feel like.
We'll see what we're feeling like, though. Chris is here. Teresa is here. Chuck Dugan is here. Ali says, Jack, just agree with Cassie. That's always good advice there.
That's a
Ali.
good safe choice.
It's always good advice right there. To $5 from Charmander and Froky says, I hope Rodgers does sign because if he don't, we get Mason Rudolph as the starter. Yeah, man. I mean, we put out a poll on this channel, Coop. I believe it was yesterday, asking between Rodgers, Cousins, Rudolph, and Howard, who's your preferred quarterback option? And let me tell you, man, this fan base is split. Where it was like 36% Rodgers, 33% the 6th-round rookie Will Howard, then like 25% Mason, and then like 5% Kirk Cousins.
That amazes me.
Yeah, me too.
Rodgers is by far the best option of out of
Yeah, and listen, man, I think a lot of people that voted Mason or Howard kind of view the Steelers as like not a legit Super Bowl contender, so they just want to like see if they can get somebody for the future. But like that's not the way the Steelers are operating. The
Correct.
Steelers are thinking, we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And it's like, out of those 4 options, which one gives you the best chance to win the Super Bowl? It's clearly Aaron Rodgers, and Kirk Cousins is a clear second, in my opinion. It's not close. So as much as I love that Mason is here and Will is here, and I'm going to be rooting for those 2 guys, in my opinion, you got to get Aaron Rodgers, all right? Like that is the play at this point. Now, I do think there's a point in the offseason where you say, Rodgers, you haven't signed yet, so we're moving forward with the guys we have, but you're going to give Rodgers every opportunity to make that decision to come to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll talk about that here in our first segment today. I'm not going to make you guys wait any longer. Let's get into our first segment right here, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. We got a lot of Steelers news and rumors to cover on today's program. First, we're going to talk about a potential new timeline for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision by, now that the Steelers are apparently willing to wait past the NFL draft here for him to make his decision. Then we'll talk about ESPN's Ryan Clark, who made an absolutely ridiculous take on the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers and their quarterback situation on ESPN yesterday. And then we'll finish up today's show with a double dose of good news for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we get into the content today, we are trying to break the record for the month of May on our channel for the most new subscribers gained on a singular video. On Steelers Talk here, our record is 97 new subscribers. So that's the number to beat. So our goal today, we want to get to triple digits for the first time in May in our channel's history. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And new viewers, we are counting on you guys. All right, the people, the real ones that have already clicked that subscribe button, they can't help us out here. In order to reach our goal today, it's got to be the new people. It's got to be the new blood. It's got to be the people that are finding our channel for the first time or have watched some of our videos and haven't signed on yet. Well, what are you waiting for, guys? guys. Try us out for a week. Help us get to 100 new subscribers today. I promise you guys, the only thing that you're going to regret is that you didn't click that button sooner. All right, now let's get into our first topic today, which surrounds, of course, Aaron Rodgers. And we've talked a lot about Rodgers here over the last about 2 months since the start of NFL free agency, and he still hasn't signed on to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the question on everybody's mind is, what the hell is he waiting for? I mean, why isn't he signing on yet? And, he says that he is tending to, quote unquote, personal responsibilities in his personal life that take precedent over, signing on and making a huge commitment to a new NFL team. I think the way he phrased it was unfair to make that commitment to a team with him dealing with the stuff that he's dealing with in his life right now. And the stuff that he's dealing with is that he's helping his friends, and he has a number of friends that live with him there in California, in Malibu, who have been affected by the wildfires that happened last year in Los Angeles, in that area. And he's helping a lot of his friends, build, buy new houses, kind of group in their lives, and help them through some really emotionally tumultuous kind of stuff. And they've lost family stuff in their houses, stuff that can't be replaced, family heirlooms, stuff like that. And obviously, it's taking an emotional toll on them. And Rodgers made a commitment to help them rebuild their lives this offseason. And apparently, that work has not been done yet, and is not looking to sign with a team until he feels like he's satisfied with the work that he has done in that area of his life. Now, my best guess is here, guys, is that there is probably a portion of the NFL offseason program that he just doesn't want to participate in. He would rather spend time helping his friends, find new houses, rebuild their lives, than go in phase one of the offseason program, which is just like lifting with the team, right? He probably wants to sign on closer to the portion to the offseason program where it's more like actual football, where he's actually able to practice, where he's actually able to be out there with his teammates and, really, get to work. And, I think that it kind of depends on what portion of the offseason that you're looking for. And if I'm him, I can't necessarily blame him. He's 41 years old. He's got other responsibilities in his life that he feels he needs to attend to. So I can't necessarily blame him for not wanting to be around in phase one here, which is literally just meetings, strength conditioning, and then rehab and meetings. That's not that much, all right? And Rodgers knows, as like a million-year veteran, he doesn't necessarily need to show up to those kinds of things. And then phase two, all right, same thing there. You can practice on the field, but you can't scrimmage against each other in any capacity. You can pretty much just run through stuff at a walk-through pace, and that starts next week on May 5th. Then phase three is OTAs, when you can actually start doing some scrimmage type of stuff, O&D periods, but no pads. And then in training camp, of course, starts in late July. And you'd certainly expect him to be on the team by then. So the question that is probably on your mind right now is, what phase is Aaron Rodgers waiting for to sign by? And, I think that there's probably two possibilities here. Obviously, the sooner he signs, the better. As from a fan's perspective, obviously you want to know the answer to this question. And honestly, the guys in the Steelers locker room want this answer sooner rather than later. But I think there's two potential options here. Phase two begins next week, Monday, on May 5th. So it's possible that Rodgers does sign with the Steelers maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe this weekend, and then he's ready to go for phase two, where he can start getting on the field. And even though it's not extensive work, even though it's not scrimmage type of stuff, it's not live football reps or anything like that, he can still begin that process of building chemistry with his guys in the locker room. Or it could be in phase three, which is when OTAs begin on May 27th. Maybe he feels like, I don't want to practice unless I can do some of the scrimmage stuff, or I can actually take reps against the defense playing actual plays. Maybe that's kind of the deadline that he's kind of looking at, and that's probably my best guess. And it's not just my best guess, guys. It's also Mark Caboli's best guess from the Pat McAfee show. He's their Steelers correspondent, and this is what he had to say. Quote, I say May 22nd is when he signs, but definitely before OTAs start on May 27th. So I do think that is probably around the time you should watch out for Aaron Rodgers to make a signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's probably going to be maybe a couple more frustrating weeks as we still await an answer, but right before OTAs, I do think Aaron Rodgers will sign on the dotted line. But Big Ben Roethlisberger on his podcast called Footballin' did point out that the Pittsburgh Steelers do need to have some point during this offseason where they need to be able to move on and force Rodgers to make a decision. This is what Ben had to say on his podcast this week. At some point, they need to set a deadline because at some point, Aaron Rodgers needs to start learning the offense and get with the guys. What is the cutoff date? I don't know. Only Coach Tomlin, Mr. Rooney, and Omar Khan know that. I don't know what that looks like. To be honest with you, I truly don't. At some point, you have to say what's best for our team is to just probably move on. And that might sound crazy because it's Aaron Rodgers, but at some point, you start to question, does Aaron really want to play? And listen, man, I do think Rodgers does want to play. I think that he just wants to take care of some of this other off-field stuff before he makes a commitment. But Ben is absolutely right. There is a point in this offseason where the Steelers should just decide to move on. Like, I don't think you want him to sign the day before training camp. Like, that's definitely not what you want, especially if you've been going through the whole offseason program to that point with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. It just feels like, the guys in that locker room is like, so you think you're good enough to just skip the entire offseason program and show up before training camp? That's not exactly the best way to get people on your side. So I think that the question is, when should that deadline be? When should the Steelers cut it off and say, Aaron, thanks for your consideration, but it's best for our team if we move on at this point? For me, my cutoff point would be mandatory minicamp, because that's when you expect every single veteran that is on your roster to be present, is mandatory minicamp, because it's mandatory. All right, every other OTA, it's voluntary, okay? And Rodgers is certainly treating the offseason program before mandatory minicamp as voluntary as well. So if Rodgers is not signed by mandatory minicamp, which is when every other player on the roster is forced to be there, then I think that's the point where resentment might start to kick in the Steelers locker room, and that's probably when you have to move on. But I'll say this, Pittsburgh sure seems pretty confident that Rodgers is going to sign with them. I mean, everything from Art Rooney saying that Rodgers has straight up told them and given them signals that he wants to play there, to Mike Tomlin saying the conversations have been great, to the actions we've seen from the Steelers not taking a quarterback early in the NFL draft. They clearly believe Rodgers is eventually going to sign with them and that they have some sort of idea of when he's going to sign with them. But if they do strike out, I've been saying this on the show for a while, guys, I think they're going to pivot to Cousins. I think they're perfectly fine doing that. In theory, on paper, he's a good fit for what the Steelers want to do on offense. So if Rodgers, decides to retire or decides to continue to wait, getting closer to training camp, I think at some point they're going to be like, you know what, we're just going to trade for Kirk Cousins and he's going to be our starting quarterback this year. So let me know down there in the comments section, is this true or false? Rodgers will be a Steeler by the end of the month of May. Give me a true or give me a false down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Fanatics. And while I'm telling you about Fanatics today, give me a true or false for today's pinned question. And with that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And they currently are selling DK Metcalf Steelers jerseys on their website right now for you guys to purchase. And not only can you get a DK Metcalf jersey in your size today, but also you can help out our channel financially because every time that you go to chatsports.com/DK and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of those proceeds. So if you guys want to help out the channel and you want to get a DK Metcalf jersey in your closet, go chatsports.com/DK. All that information is in the comments and description of today's show. So now let's move over to Ryan Clark of ESPN, who is a former Super Bowl champion with this organization, big Mike Tomlin fan, all that different stuff. He says the Pittsburgh Steelers should, quote, want to suck in 2025 to end the cycle of mediocrity, specifically at the quarterback position. This is what Ryan, who I have a lot of respect for, by the way, had to say about the Steelers situation. They should want to lose. I know this goes against everything that's black and yellow, but they've been a competitive team the entire time Mike Tomlin's been there. But since Ben Roethlisberger got to the last 2 or 3 years of his career, they were not a championship contender. And they played just well enough to never get a high enough pick to go get the next Ben Roethlisberger. And you're not going to find that dude in free agency either. So whether it's Mason Rudolph, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, they should want to suck finally. They should want to get that top 10 pick in the quarterback draft. that looks to be a lot better next year than the one there was this year. So listen, man, I think RC sounds really, really salty here to me because he obviously has been a big-time anti-Rodgers guy. I mean, if you know anything about the history between Ryan Clark and Aaron Rodgers, they don't like each other, all right? So the fact that the Steelers are putting out signals that they're definitely going to go with Rodgers, Ryan Clark is not the biggest fan of that strategy from his good friend Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. And, you know, my message to RC is too bad, man. Like, you're kind of throwing a hissy fit here, especially because RC, we know, also wanted the Steelers to draft Shedeur Sanders, and he wanted them to draft him very, very badly. And there was a viral video that went out of the Steelers taking Derek Harmon in round 1, and Ryan Clark had a straight-up meltdown because he realized that it was going to be either Aaron Rodgers, who he really doesn't want to be the quarterback of this football team, or Mason Rudolph, who he also doesn't want to be the starting quarterback of this football team. So listen, man, the reality of the situation is Pittsburgh is not about to tank this season. They don't want to suck. They don't want to lose. In fact, they feel like this team is really close to winning and winning at a very high level. All right? Like, if they felt like they needed to reboot, if they felt like they needed to blow things up, they would have fired Mike Tomlin. They'd be shopping TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, and they would be starting over. But that's not what they're doing. They're going to extend TJ Watt, all right? They brought in DK Metcalf, all right? They're going to bring in a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, or at least that's their plan right now. They're trying to win now. So if RC can complain and cry about it all he wants, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to try to win this year, and I do think they're going to make the playoffs once again. Now, before I go here, a double dose of good news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It came in over the last several days, the first of which has to do with the 2026 NFL Draft, where the NFL announced the comp picks that teams are going to get next year, and the Steelers got a whopping 4 compensatory picks, where they are now slated to get 11 total picks in the NFL Draft next year. A pick in round 1 and round 2, then they get comp picks in rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, giving you 4 additional draft picks for next year. And to the Ryan Clark point here, guys, like, he says that the Steelers need to suck to be in position to get a future franchise quarterback. Next year, it's a good quarterback class. There's going to be a number of guys that are available. With this amount of draft capital at your disposal, you can still make the playoffs this year and still be a pretty darn good and competitive football team. And you have enough ammo at your disposal in the draft next year to move up now. All right, so RC can shove it with the we want to win 4 or 5 games next year so we can get the next Big Ben Roethlisberger. You can win 10, 11, 12 games next year and still have the ammo to move up to get your guy. So no, we're not going to lose. We're not going to try to lose. We're not going to try to suck. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about here, and we're going to go for it all. Also, something that's also really fun here, Producer Coop, Diontae Johnson's back in the AFC North playing for the clown show, the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders will be throwing him the football. Man, I love this. And by the way, I would give it about a 0% chance he's on the roster by the end of the season. And he's going to be a Bengal by the end of the year, too. He's going to finish the Infinity Gauntlet with the AFC North teams. It's just too perfect, guys. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Predict it for me down there in the comment section. Will Diontae Johnson make it the entire year in Cleveland, or is he going to complain he doesn't get the ball enough again? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers on today's show. If you help us out, I greatly appreciate it. Until tomorrow, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, we got Steelers Love coming in with a $1 Cash App here. Appreciate you, Steelers Love. $1 there. And then we got, I think, another Super Chat, if I'm not mistaken.
My man Sheldon Bennett coming in with the 5. Sheldon says, instead of Cousins, do you think we could get Wentz or Carr?
Yeah, we could. I mean,
did Wentz not sign anywhere?
Mm-mm. If you want Wentz, you can get him. It's just, I don't think the Steelers want him. He's super inaccurate. He throws more interceptions than Tomlin likes. So if they would have liked Carson Wentz as their starting quarterback, they would have already signed him, Sheldon, in my opinion. So,
in the wise words of Jack Sperry, he sucks.
He's not very good, no. But Derek Carr's a possibility, okay? If you don't get Rodgers and you feel like the Falcons are trying to shaft you in a trade, which is possible, and Derek Carr becomes available and he's affordable, I think Derek Carr would be a great fit in this offense.
Do we think Carr is legitimately injured, or is this just a ploy to get out of it?
I think he's legitimately injured, but like it's an injury he can play through.
Okay.
I think it's an injury he can play through because I think this is something that he's been dealing with for multiple seasons and has been playing through for multiple seasons. So him coming out and saying, I might not play next year and get surgery on it is him saying, I don't really want to play for the Saints. And I might get surgery that ends my entire season if I'm still on this team's roster, especially because they just drafted a quarterback in the top 40 in Tyler Shuck. So like, I can't imagine Carr's too thrilled about that.
I would absolutely agree.
Between Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins, I would rather take Carr.
What do you think you give up for him? A fifth?
Conditional something?
Yeah.
Conditional fifth that turns into a third. Conditional sixth that turns into a fourth if you can do that. I think that would be ideal. You got 2 third and fourth round picks next year. You know, if you're desperate for a quarterback, I'm not going to rule out Derek Carr as an option for the Steelers here, but Carson Wentz probably much less likely. I think that Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Derek Carr all have higher odds at this point than Carson Wentz does. Agree?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
All right. So coming up later in today's show, we got the mailbag. So don't forget to put your questions down there in the live chat, #Steelers or Super Chat. You guys can also send in a Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal. Again, we're doing a $20 Venmo Steelers jersey raffle whenever Aaron Rodgers finally decides to come out of his hole and sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to get in on that raffle and get 2 raffle tickets to win that jersey, you can go to @Jack-Sperry on Venmo or # Captain Jack 19 on Cash App or @Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. All right, let's get into our next segment here, guys. I did some research on TJ Watt, kind of deciding whether or not the Steelers would really should pay him $40+ million per season if that's what he's asking for. My conclusion, based on the numbers that I'm going to show you here in just a second, is they absolutely should sign him to whatever he wants. All right, like he is the most valuable player on this team by far. We're going to show you why here in just one moment. Like, Coop, you want to know why this team has been able to stay afloat with Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Duck Hodges, and old Big Ben Roethlisberger over the last several years?
Joseph Watt. I don't even know if that's what TJ stands for.
It's because of TJ Watt. Plain and simply, guys. This guy's an absolute monster. We're going to go over some numbers here in just a second. I know he's getting a little bit older, but he's still dominant. All right, so let's get into it right now. Let's get into our TJ Watt segment so you guys know just how valuable TJ is to the Steelers defense. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, I'm going to explain why the Pittsburgh Steelers need to extend TJ Watt to a multi-year contract extension this offseason. And if they need to pay top of market money to do it, I'm perfectly fine doing just that. Before we get into it today, go down there and below this video and click that thumbs up icon and like today's show. If you want TJ Watt to be extended this offseason and to be locked up to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for life, spam that thumbs up icon and get today's show started on the right foot. All right, now let's start with my take on this, guys. And my thesis statement on today's show is that the Pittsburgh Steelers should pay TJ Watt what he wants. All right, as long as it's not like something ridiculous like $50 million or like $47 million. Like, and I don't think he's asking for that. I think he's asking for slightly more than what Myles Garrett got, which was $40 million per season. I would pay him that if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. And let's just start today's video and my argument for that by acknowledging a truth, okay? There just isn't a more valuable defensive player in all of football or on the Steelers than TJ Watt since he came into the league in 2017. And I'm going to show you a bunch of numbers today that prove that fact. But listen, man, we can look at his individual numbers. We can look at his impact on the Steelers defense when he's playing versus when he's not playing or when he's injured. We'll start with the individual dominance. All right, since entering the league in 2017, 108 sacks for Mr. TJ Watt. There's only 2 players since 2017 that have reached the 100 sack mark, and it is him and Myles Garrett, the guy that just got $40 million per season. So is it any wonder why he wants to get paid the same amount when he's had more sacks than Garrett during the same kind of time period in the National Football League? And honestly, guys, nobody else comes close. Not Aaron Donald, who's been out of the league here for a little bit now, Danielle Hunter, Chris Jones. Watt and Garrett blow the rest of the group out of the water. So TJ is an elite sack artist. That's number one. Number two is he's a great run defender as well, and he brings people down behind the line of scrimmage. He has 126 tackles for loss since he was drafted in 2017. That is once again first in the National Football League since he entered the league. You take a look at the rankings here. 126 for him, and then you got Aaron Donald, who's like unbelievable at 119. Obviously, per season, Donald probably had TJ beat. But the fact that TJ Watt is first in this category as well shows that he is a highly impactful run defender as well. And then where I actually think Watt is the most valuable, the sacks are great, the TFLs are great, but we all know that the most valuable defensive play that defense can have is to turn the football over. And TJ Watt, there's no defensive player in the league that has turned the football over more than TJ Watt. First, you look at the forced fumbles. 33 forced fumbles since he came into the league in 2017. By the way, 11 and a half of those came just last season. All right? This is easily first in the National Football League. I mean, he's blowing everybody else out of the water. 33, number one, TJ Watt. The next highest is Khalil Mack, and then the next highest is 20. All right? And these two guys aren't even in the league anymore. All right? TJ Watt is blowing everybody out of the water. So it's one thing to be consistently at the top of the league in sacks. It's one thing to consistently be at the top of the league in tackles for loss, but he is carrying the Steelers' defense from a turnover perspective as well. And then not only does he force fumbles, but he also has interceptions. He has 7 INTs on top of the 33 forced fumbles that he has forced throughout his entire NFL career. So that's 40 total turnovers created by one guy in the Steelers defense since 2017. And if you combine forced fumbles and interceptions, no defensive player has turned the football over than Mr. TJ Watt. And honestly, it's not close. There's a 5 turnover difference between him and Justin Simmons, who is at 35. And then you got a couple guys at 34 here. But a little bit of a note, TJ Watt is at 40, and the next highest defensive lineman on this list is 15th. All right, it's all defensive backs, and TJ is still getting more turnover production than all of the defensive backs are. All right, it's absolutely incredible production being put up by TJ Watt. Then you take a look at last year's number, just in case you think TJ is falling off a cliff or that he's showing signs of age, or if he's still not worth the kind of money that he's asking for. He was still top 10 in sacks last year, even though he finished the year playing on an injured ankle. We'll get to that here in just a moment. He was tied for first in tackles for loss with 40, and then you got 11 and a half forced fumbles. And by the way, 2 of them got taken off the board with penalties last year, so it should have been 13 and a half. And guys, the next highest number in forced fumbles last year from a defensive player was 3.5. TJ had 11 and a half. 8 more than anybody else in the game. I mean, the kind of production and the kind of value that this player brings to the table is astronomical for just one defensive player. All right? And pretty soon here, I'm going to show you the impact that it has on the Steelers defense. But before we get into that, let me know down there in the comments section, would you pay TJ Watt $40+ million per season on his next deal? I know he's getting older, guys, but the production is still there, and it's always been elite. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know if you think TJ Watt is worth top of market money. Now let's move into what TJ Watt's impact is on the Steelers defense when he's healthy and playing versus not playing or he's playing injured, all right? Because the numbers are absolutely stark, and it just shows how irreplaceable TJ Watt is as a presence in the Steelers defense. So let's just take a look at when Watt plays versus when he doesn't play. The Steelers win 66% of their games. So 2/3 of their games when TJ Watt plays in his career since 2017. They win less than 10% when he doesn't play. They've only won 1 game in the 11 games he has not played in his entire career when he doesn't play. Just 1, okay? Then you get into the points per game that the Steelers offense scores. With Watt, they score almost a touchdown more per game, and then on defense, they give up about a touchdown less per game. All right, like it's a 14-point swing with 1 player, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Then you look at the sack production. I'll go back there, producer Coop. TJ Watt, when he's on the field, when he's playing, Steelers average 2.78 sacks per game. So that's the entire defense. When he's not on the field, they average just over 1 sack per game. Then you look at the turnovers per game, the turnover production. They get 1.2 turnovers per game when he plays and less than 1, significantly less when he doesn't play. So his impact on the team when he is playing is astronomical to the success of the defense. And then we got to see TJ's impact on the team last year when he got injured in Week 15 versus the Philadelphia Eagles late in that football game. Now, the Steelers lost that game, and the Eagles were the eventual Super Bowl champions, all right? And you were playing on the road. That was a tough game. But I think this was the turning point in the year. A lot of people say Russ was the one that completely collapsed this season. I really believe TJ Watt's injury killed the Steelers' season last year. You take a look at the impact. Before the injury, Steelers were winning, once again, 66% of their games, 2/3 of their games. After he got injured, they didn't win a single game the rest of the way. The points per game for the offense went from 22.4, that's both with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, by the way, and then the final stretch, they only averaged 14.5 points per game. So once again, it shifts. Then the defense gave up 10 more points a game when TJ was playing injured versus when he was playing healthy. That is astronomical there, ladies and gentlemen. The sacks per game, the defense almost had 1 more sack per game with him on the field versus when he was injured and on the field. And then the turnover production, they had 2.1 turnovers per game before the injury and less than 1 per game after the injury. And if you want to look at another crazy turnover stat here, guys, when TJ Watt was healthy last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in the 15 games where Watt was healthy for most of it, they had multiple turnovers in 13 of 15 games. This is the best turnover defense in football when he was healthy. Then the games following that, the 4 games after the injury, the three final regular season games in the playoff game, just one of those games, you had multiple turnovers. And it was the closest one. It was the Cincinnati Bengals game to finish out the regular season. All right, so the fact that TJ Watt has been such a big impact on this defense, you just can't afford to lose him, especially in a year where you are trying to win, guys. And the simple reality is, without TJ Watt on the field, and if you get rid of him, if you trade him, the defense is going to crumble. All right, it happened last year. It's happened every time that he has been taken out of this defense or has been playing hurt, and that's just the reality of the situation. If you don't believe me, just go look at the numbers that we just showed you. All right, it's absolutely a statistical reality that this guy's the most valuable defensive player in all of football. And if you're trying to win a title this year, like the Steelers claim that they want to, it just doesn't make sense to trade him. It doesn't. If he gives you, he is the reason why that this team has maintained the level of competitiveness that they have had with the quarterback play that they've had and the offensive play that they've had. You're winning 9 games a season with like bottom 5 offensive play. Why is that? Well, it might be because you have one player getting 40 interceptions and forced fumbles for you. That might be part of the reason, right, guys? So if you can add a good offense along with TJ Watt, a healthy TJ Watt, and a really good defense around him, which he has, it's the most expensive defense in all of football, this team has a chance to be super, super good if he can stay healthy, guys, plain and simply. Now, in terms of the money, I understand that $40+ million per season is a lot. But that's what Myles Garrett got this year, and that's where the market is at. And I think that we have established today that TJ Watt is an even more valuable player than Myles Garrett is. So if you're TJ Watt and you feel like you're a more valuable player than Myles Garrett, which we have discussed today and we have acknowledged today, I understand why he wants the same amount or more than what Myles got this offseason. If that's what he wants, I am paying up. If I am trying to win a Super Bowl for Cam Hayward before he retires in the next 2 years, I want TJ Watt on my team, point blank, period. If he wants to be the highest paid edge rusher in football, even at 30 years old, he is worth that to me. So before we kind of wrap up today's show, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you think TJ Watt is the best defensive player in the world, there's a case to be made he's the best football player in the world at his position with the way that he just dominates the football game. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section, and make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you think Watt is the best in the world. Now, before I go here, I do want to give some names of some other veteran Steelers players that could get extensions this offseason. Isaac Seumalo, guard. I think he's got a chance to potentially get an extension. The Steelers really like him. They didn't really draft a potential replacement down the road for him. So I could see him maybe getting a year or, at the very most 2-year extension. for him to return to the Steelers in future seasons. Jaylen Warren, running back. I know the Steelers really like him, but he's just on the RFA tender right now. We'll see if they can strike a deal if they really want him here in the long run. He's going to have to sign for the right dollar amount, though. Deshaun Elliott is going to be a future free agent here coming up, and I know the Steelers really like him. He's a great open field tackler, made some really great plays for this team last year, and he's very versatile, can move all around the formation as well. So I could see him getting kind of a shorter-term deal extension as well. Then you got Miles Killebrew, where this is only one where if it's a really low amount, but the Steelers have done this before where they will bring back and they will extend these types of players, and Killebrew is awesome, man. Like, he has more block punts than I believe every other current active NFL player combined, all right? Like, he is crazy in his ability to block punts year in and year out. He's also a great guy. We had him on the channel during Super Bowl week. He's a fantastic dude, and he's a team captain. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers give him an extension of some kind this offseason either. So let me know down there in the comments section, should Pittsburgh extend anyone besides Watt this offseason? I just discussed 4 guys that could potentially get an extension this offseason, so let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And if you do think another player should get extended, let me know which one down there in the comments. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk. I hope this was informative for you guys. And of course, if you want more nerdy videos like this one and you want to stay up to date on all the latest happenings surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. Second segment in the books, Mr. Coop. Coming up next, we've got my perfect offseason plan. After the NFL draft, I got 4 more moves that Omar Khan could make to put the cherry on top of this offseason.
Into the cup.
What'd you think of that last segment there, Mr. Coop?
I thought it was very good. What's up? Yeah, I'm actually going to make you do it.
Sick, bro.
Yeah.
Just give me a call.
No, okay, sounds good.
So so do you think TJ Watt is worth $40+ million per
If he
season?
wants $70 million, I'd give it to him.
I wouldn't give him 70.
He's that important to the Steelers.
That's like literally half of your salary cap.
And
like, listen, man, 40's a lot. I get it, but you guys just saw the numbers that we showed you. This defense crumbles when he is not playing healthy. It's just a fact. And I love Alex Highsmith. I love Nick Herbig.
they're not TJ Watt.
They're not TJ Watt. His impact with the way he gets sacks, tackles for losses, and turnovers, it's unmatched in the rest of the league. And the only guy that comes close is Myles Garrett, and he made 40. So it's like, if TJ's more valuable than that guy, and he has been since entering the league, obviously, and obviously Myles came in after TJ. So, you know, all those things go into play, but I don't see any dip from TJ Watt. I don't. He got hurt last year, so that's why you saw the dip late in the season, both individually and from a team defensive standpoint. But, you know, if he stays healthy this year, like, this defense has a chance to be, you know, get 2-3 turnovers a game, have multiple sacks because of the impact that he brings, along with the other talent around him. It's an unbelievable defense when he is healthy, man. It really is. All right. Again, I just want to remind you guys we are doing a mailbag after this segment. Okay, so we got 2 more segments to go. We got this one, and then we got our mailbag. So if you haven't gotten your question in yet, hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat, or you guys can super chat to make sure you get your question on the show.
Better get on it.
So you better get on it, like Coop says. And without further ado, let's get into my post-draft perfect offseason plan for your Pittsburgh Steelers. With the 2025 NFL Draft come and gone, today I'm going to lay out 4 perfect moves that Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin can still make during the NFL offseason to kind of put the cherry on top of what I think has been a pretty decent offseason to this point. Before we get into it today, guys, and before I reveal my perfect offseason plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers after the NFL Draft, let me know, where are you guys at with where Omar Khan has led us so far this offseason? Do you think he's done a great job, a good job, or not as good of a job? Give me an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F to kick off today's show. For me personally, it really depends on Aaron Rodgers, which is the first move that I'm going to discuss today. First thing you got to do, and the priority number 1 is to get Aaron Rodgers on your roster. All right, you've put in too many resources, and you've made too many decisions that indicate that this is going to happen for it to not happen, all right? Like if Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin are not able to get Aaron Rodgers at this point, despite investing as much time and resources as they have into him, like their jobs are on the line for me, period, okay? Like if they can't get him and they stink this year, see ya. We're hiring a new GM and head coach that can actually land these guys as opposed to guys that wait around forever and then get cucked at Brandon Ayuk, at Aaron Rodgers. 2 off seasons in a row is too much for me, all right? But let's be completely honest. I get that people don't love Aaron Rodgers as a person. I understand all those reasons. And especially because now he's making the Steelers wait, I think that's even more gasoline to the fire here that makes people just not want him to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But out of the options that are still available, with the NFL draft now passed, Rodgers is clearly the best quarterback option available for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they want to win a Super Bowl, or at least they want to try to win a Super Bowl in 2025. And, part of the reason for that is because of the skill level he still brings to the table. I thought he got better as the season went on with the New York Jets last year, but also because he's cheap. All right, 1 year, $10 million, that is less than Daniel Jones, ladies and gentlemen. And you can get this guy, and hopefully you can get some of that Brett Favre magic that Minnesota got in 2009. Maybe you can get some of that Tom Brady magic that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got in 2020. It's happened before, guys, where a quarterback, a future Hall of Fame quarterback, past the age of 40, has gone to a new team and has succeeded. I believe Aaron Rodgers could be that next quarterback if he comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the fact that you can get him on a 1 year, $10 million deal is an absolute steal. And, I'm sorry, guys, but Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, for as much as I like that these guys are here as this team's QB2 and QB3, I think they're very good in those roles. Neither of them are viable options to start week 1. Not if you want to win a Super Bowl, not if you want to compete for a title like this team claims to want to do. All right, like Mason Rudolph can get you to maybe 9 or 10 wins if things go well, but you're probably going to lose in the first round of the playoffs, just like they did in 2023. I don't think he has the talent to elevate this roster beyond that. And then Will Howard, for as nice as some of his physical tools are, he needs development. You can't throw him into the fire year 1 because I don't think his mental processing, accuracy, and pressure management is ready to go on day 1. I think he needs at least a year, maybe even 2 years learning behind a veteran quarterback before you even think about putting him out there as your starting quarterback for a season. All right, so where I'm at is you can't guarantee, and I can't guarantee, that Rodgers will be successful this year. It's very possible that he signs on here and he loses his arm strength and he's just not accurate at all and he sucks. All right, that's very possible. But I do know he gives this team the best chance of hitting like Brett Favre did in Minnesota, like Tom Brady did in Tampa Bay. That's still a very real possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers here, given Aaron Rodgers' arm talent and football intellect. I'm not going to rule that possibility out. And if I'm the Steelers, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl, Rodgers gives me the best chance to do that. So it's a no-brainer for me, especially at 1 year, $10 million, to sign Aaron Rodgers as a part of my perfect offseason plan. So let me know down there in the comments section, should the Steelers give up on signing Aaron Rodgers at this point? Type W if you would wait for him, or type P if you would pass on him and go with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard as your starting quarterback next year. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know how you would handle the Aaron Rodgers saga. Second player that I would sign as a part of this perfect post-draft plan is Asante Samuel Jr. Now, I'm not sure if the Steelers are even interested in signing a corner, but if they do, I want somebody that can play in the slot, because you do bring in Darius Slay this year to play alongside Joey Porter Jr. Right now, Beanie Bishop Jr. Started about half your games last year in the regular season, played pretty decently, had some big-time plays, some big-time game-sealing interceptions even, played with really good instincts, but he's just so tiny that he's a liability in coverage at times, all right? So I think that he's in the pole position to win the slot job, but there's also guys like Dante Kent, Sebastian Castro, Brandon Echols. All those guys can also vie for the starting nickel position. But if they wanted to go out and get somebody that could just lock up that position from the second he signs on the dotted line, Asante Samuel Jr. is that type of guy. Now, he has played mostly on the outside in his NFL career, but his skill set would translate beautifully into the slot, in my opinion, guys. He can play outside and in, has experience doing both. And hey, if Darius Slay sucks or if he gets injured, you can put Asante Samuel Jr. there on the outside, and it really goes off without a hitch because you can put in whoever your second nickel guy is, Beanie Bishop Jr., Dante Kent, Sebastian Castro, whoever's slotting in as your backup nickel. If Darius Slay stinks or gets injured, like you can transition to Asante Samuel playing on the outside. Now, another guy that you could consider here is Mike Hilton, who's experienced in this defense. He's a terrific blitzer from the slot. He doesn't have outside versatility, so that's why I prefer Asante Samuel Jr. to Mike Hilton. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if this team brings in Hilton to be this team's starting slot next year. Remember, last year they brought in Cam Sutton later on in the offseason. It wouldn't shock me at all if they bring in another slot corner free agent sometime during the offseason, and it could be Mike Hilton. So coming up here on my perfect offseason plan, post-draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've still got 2 more moves that I would make if I were Steelers GM Omar Khan to finish out my offseason. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics, where you guys can get a brand new DK Metcalf Steelers jersey in your closet today if you haven't gotten one by going to chatsports.com/DK. Also helps out the channel financially, guys, because when you go down there, chatsports.com/DK, click that link, and then you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds. So that helps us keep the lights on, pay rent, buy new equipment, purchase new software for graphics and stuff like that. It really is a big help, guys. So if you want to help us out and you want to help yourself out by getting a brand new DK Metcalf jersey, you can go chatsports.com/DK and get that in your closet today. I'm going to get some offensive line depth here to kind of finish out the interior of the offensive line with John Feliciano, formerly with the San Francisco 49ers, dealt with a knee injury last year, but I'm very excited to see what Feliciano is going to be able to do heading into this next season. And if he's willing to come here as a depth interior lineman that's played left, right guard, plus center, I mean, I like that a lot more than like Spencer Anderson as your backup plan at the guard positions. I like that a lot more than Ryan McCollum as your backup center option if Zach Frazier, God forbid, goes down. Feliciano is experienced in a wide zone system playing in the San Francisco 49ers. And when he was playing with the Niners in 2023, he had a PFF grade of 79.8, which is not bad at all. That's actually a really, really good grade. And it's not like PFF grading is gospel or anything like that. But he played significant snaps for San Francisco that year, and they went to the Super Bowl. Okay, so he is coming off that season-ending knee injury. I don't think anybody really views him as a starting level player. So if he wants to go to a team that's trying to win now, that there's going to be injuries that happen. He can play left or right guard and center. I think he's the perfect swing interior offensive lineman, and he's probably going to come super cheap. So I would love to add him to this group. Then my final thing that I would do here is I would extend T.J. Watt. Now, if they wanted to extend some other players that are slated to be free agents, Deshaun Elliott, Jalen Warren, Miles Killebrew, other players like that, that's fine. But T.J. Watt's the one that, in my opinion, you have to get done this offseason, okay? Because T.J. Watt is the most valuable player on this team, and it is not close. And by the way, he is the most valuable defensive player in football. And by the way, it's not close, all right? Like, you can take a look at the numbers for T.J. Watt, which we'll look at here in just a second. But obviously, if you can sign him for anything under $40 million per season, which is what Myles Garrett got, that's ideal. That would be fantastic if you can get this kind of caliber of player for less than top of market value. But if that's what TJ wants, I'm perfectly fine paying that. I think that he's worth every single penny of that, especially if the Steelers are trying to win now, and I'm not willing to risk a holdout or him missing time or whatever this offseason in a contract dispute. That's not something I want to do. So you take a look at his general impact here, and the games that he has played versus the games that he hasn't played. He's only missed 11 games in his career since 2017, but the win percentage goes from you win 2/3 of your games with him to less than 10% of your games without him. They're 1-10 in games without TJ Watt on the field for that game. Then you look at the offensive points per game that they get. All right, the offense does better because they get more turnovers and they get better field positioning. You average 22.2 points per game on offense with Watt on the field, and without him, 16.6. Without that really good field position and turnover help and all that stuff, without Watt on the field, this offense has been awful. Okay, then you go into the opponent's points per game. I'll go back there, Coop. the opponent's points per game there. You get a touchdown less per game for your opponent when TJ Watt plays. You get over a sack more per game. It's like a sack and a half more per game with Watt on the field, and you get more turnovers as well. Then you go to the 2024 impact for TJ Watt here. It's very similar. All right, like you give up more than you get more than a touchdown per game. That's like 8 points per game right there on offense with Watt on the field or before the injury versus after the injury. The opponent's points per game. I mean, the defense gave up 10 less points per game with him on the field, ladies and gentlemen. The sack production, once again, was much higher, and the turnover production was once again much higher before he injured that ankle versus the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 15. So for me, it's a no-brainer, guys. The impact TJ Watt has on this defense is irreplaceable, and if you want to compete for a title this year, which the Steelers claim that they do, you have no choice. You have to pay up, and you have to lock up TJ Watt for the long term. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Is TJ Watt still the best defensive player in all of professional football? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. For me, the answer is a clear yes. Go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of today's video. We got more stuff on the Steelers coming out this weekend on this channel for free, so make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, one more segment to go. How many questions do we have right now, Coop?
Let's take a look. Could use a couple more.
Could use a couple more. So
couple more. We'll give you about 2 minutes.
Let's do a shot clock. 2 minutes so that they can see how much time they have. We'll give you guys 2 minutes. How many more questions do you want? 5 more questions?
We could use 5 more.
Let's get 5 more questions in the comment section here, guys. Hashtag Steelers along with your question. If we can get 5 more, we'll get into the mailbag here. 2-minute shot clock. You guys got 2 minutes to think of a question and get it down there in the live chat. We got almost 300 people still watching live here, Coop.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about a lot today. We've talked about why the Steelers need to get Rodgers. We've talked about why they need to extend TJ Watt. The business of this offseason is still not over for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think my favorite thing that we've talked about is the Browns being yet another meme today.
The Browns bringing in Diontae Johnson, man. What a joke.
They are the worst.
It's a circus over there,
They're
man.
the worst organization in the NFL.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's if that hasn't been maybe besides the Raiders, but
I think I would take the Raiders. Right now?
You would take the last 20 years of Raiders football versus Browns? Browns at least have a playoff win.
Yeah. It's close.
Don't get me wrong. The Browns are a joke. All right? We all understand this.
Right now, going forward, I would take the Raiders. I'm serious.
Moving forward, I would agree. You got Geno, you got Pete Carroll, who knows what he's doing. Ashton Genty. Some decent receivers they drafted this year as well to pair with Jacoby Myers. Raider Nation can, they're a bunch of crazies over there.
They are crazy.
But yeah, we got less than a minute to go to get your questions in. Hashtag Steelers. And we'll get to the mailbag here, guys. Appreciate all your questions. Appreciate the super chats that have come in. And I'm excited to see what kind of questions you got for me. We haven't done a mailbag, Coop, in a while.
It's been a minute.
So it'll be nice to get back into the flow of doing mailbags every single week during the off season for sure.
Have you decided on dinner yet?
I have not decided on dinner yet. I don't know if I'm feeling like the amount of food. You know what I'm saying?
If you're going to Olive Garden, you're going to feast.
Yeah, if you're going to Olive Garden, you want to eat a lot. I don't know if I'm in the mood to eat a lot, if I'm being honest. But
I feel that. All right.
We'll see where we're at, but we got one more segment to go here on Steelers Talk Live before we call it a week here on Steelers Talk. But I can't wait to see your questions here, so without further ado, let's get into them. Welcome into the Steelers Talk Mailbag. I'm your host, Jack Sperry.
We'll restart it. I was on top.
F. Coop in the chat. He forgot to take himself off screen for the cut. Coop wanted to be involved. $5 from Chris. We'll get to that here momentarily. Let's get into it right now, this time without Coop on screen. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, the mailbag here on the weekend. where I get to answer your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers after the conclusion of the 2025 NFL Draft. So can't wait to see what you guys got for me today. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button to join the most interactive Steelers community anywhere on YouTube. We try to create the most interactive kind of group of Steelers fans anywhere here on YouTube. We put out daily community posts on there and polls for you guys to vote on. Also, you get your voice heard in the comments section on every single one of the videos that we make here. And then we also go live twice a week, Monday and Thursday, for you to have your voice heard in the community that we have here at Steelers Talk. So if you want to join the largest interactive Steelers YouTube community anywhere on this platform, we got over 84,000 subscribers already joined our family. So make sure you click that subscribe button and help us get to 85K. All right, so let's start with my man Justin Yankuski, who says, if Rodgers doesn't sign, would he be the greatest supervillain of all time? Yes, he would. I would hate him forever if he did this, because obviously what he's been telling the Steelers has made them think he's definitely coming. All right, not only did they not get a different quarterback in free agency, not only did they pretty much say no to both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, but they also didn't draft a quarterback until round 6. So he better be coming, because if he's not, Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, you guys are officially on the hot seat, because this would be the Brandon Ayuk situation on steroids if he doesn't come to the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. $5 from Charmander and Froki says, I hope Rodgers does sign, because if he doesn't, we get Mason Rudolph as the starter. Yeah, man, and we put a poll on this channel this week where I asked between Rodgers, Cousins, Rudolph, and Howard, who do you want as the week 1 starter? Like 60% said Rudolph and Howard. And it's like, I love Rudy. He's a Steelers legend for life for what he did in 2023, but he played against some of the worst defenses in football to finish out that regular season, then played really, really not that great in the playoff game when it mattered most. And Will Howard's a round 6 rookie, all right? And Rudolph did not play well last year in Tennessee. So Rudolph, in my opinion, is a backup, and that's perfectly fine. As a spot starter, if Rodgers gets hurt for a couple of games, Rudolph is more than capable of coming in and being competitive and winning some games. But as a full-time starter for 17 games in a schedule, I mean, the most you're going to win is 9-10 games, a wild card game, and you lose in the first round. Like, isn't that what we're trying to get away from here? I'd rather take a high-risk, high-reward type of guy like Rodgers than somebody that at his best is 9 or 10 wins and you have another mediocre season. That's just me, though. Then we get $5 from Chris. It says, Jack and Coop, I love the Steelers draft. We filled our needs except for left tackle since I don't trust Jones. We can draft our franchise quarterback next year. And that's what it sounds like the Steelers want to do. And I like that plan. And who knows, maybe Will Howard, who has some nice traits, is going to do some good things in practice this year and learn from Aaron Rodgers and learn from Mason Rudolph. That's more than possible to me. But I think that the Steelers, who are trying to win these next 2 years before Cam Hayward retires, I think that they're going about it the right way. I think Aaron Rodgers gives them the best chance to win now. I think Will Howard's got some traits that the team can bet on and try to develop. And Mason Rudolph's a really good backup. So honestly, the Steelers get really crapped on for the way that they have handled the quarterback situation. And don't get me wrong, if you don't get Rodgers, you're in a tough spot. But if Rodgers does come here and he plays well, I mean, all this drama, nobody's going to be talking about it this time next offseason. So let me know, in 2026, so next season, so 2 seasons from now, not next season, who is the Steelers starting quarterback? Do you think Aaron Rodgers will come back for a second year in Pittsburgh after a successful first year? Do you think it'll be Will Howard after impressing the Steelers coaches enough? Do you think they're going to draft a quarterback like Drew Aller in the 2026 NFL draft? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Who is the Steelers starting quarterback in 2026? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know who the Steelers starting quarterback is going to be week 1 of the 2026 campaign. And we got one from Steelers Dad, my dog, says, who will be RB1 on week 1? I think it's going to be like a 1A, 1B kind of situation, Steelers Dad, because Caleb Johnson is like the true kind of Najee type of figure here, where he's the bigger type of running back. By the way, that is not Caleb Johnson. That is Kenneth Gainwell. We didn't switch out the photo there. But Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, I expect to get kind of similar workloads. They like Jalen a lot, and he is the veteran in this group. But Caleb has got that big body like Najee, but he's got terrific vision and ability to find those open spaces and outside zone that Najee Harris never really had. He has the explosive play ability and, frankly, downfield speed that Najee never had. I mean, get this, Coop. Caleb Johnson was clocked at 22 or more miles per hour multiple times at Iowa last year. When this guy gets rolling, he's impossible to bring down, all right? And he pairs that with the great vision. It's a perfect scheme fit. There's just no way, in my opinion, for as much as I love Jaylen Warren, if you watch the channel, you know how much I love Jaylen Warren. I think we're going to love Caleb Johnson even more, man. He's going to be terrific. Got one from Kevin Reed. Says, how many sacks do you think Jack Sawyer will get this year as a rotational player? Less than 5? Well, I mean, he's going to be a fourth edge rusher. And I mean, Terrell Austin said in his post-draft press conference, he's being brought in as a run defender. He's got shorter arms for an edge rusher, and he doesn't have a lot of bend as a speed rusher either. So, you know, he's got some physical limitations. I love his effort. I love his football character, and I think he's a pretty good run defender as well. Physical as hell. But, like, I don't want people to get their expectations too high for Jack Sawyer in year one. He's going to be the fourth edge rusher in the rotation. He's probably only going to be playing on early downs when he is in the game, kind of that Preston Smith role. And that's probably going to get you for sure less than 5 sacks. It might even end up being less than 3 sacks. Then we got one from $5 from Chris again. Says, guys, the Steelers drafted guys who fit the culture. I don't think Sanders ever would have been a good fit here since he is too selfish like Pickens. Well, I mean, we'll see about Pickens. We'll see if he matures a little bit here. I'm excited to see Pickens, but I tried telling you guys about Sanders. Steelers didn't want him. All right, there was a report today from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that the Steelers would have taken Will Howard in round 6 over Shedeur Sanders. There's no way that meeting went well. There's just no way. Like, if you're willing to take Will Howard in round 6 over Shedeur Sanders if he was still there, he was off your board, period. It wasn't a culture fit, plain and simply. Chris couldn't agree more. All right, man, we still got a couple more questions, so make sure you like the video if you haven't already. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Liking the video is the quickest and easiest way to help us out, helps out the YouTube algorithm, gets this video in front of more people. Really do appreciate everybody and all the real ones that click that thumbs up icon. Going from my man Sheldon, says, if Rodgers signs, what is the % chance of us winning a playoff game? I mean, obviously there's a lot of different factors that go into play there, Sheldon. How healthy are you heading into the playoffs? How healthy are you during the regular season? All that stuff. I think the best way I can answer this question for you, Sheldon, is the chances are higher than any other quarterback you could potentially start. More than Kirk Cousins, more than Derek Carr, more than Mason Rudolph, more than Will Howard, more than Carson Wentz. All right, like Rodgers gives you the best chance of winning a playoff game, and whatever that percentage is, it's higher than any other option you got. So that's how I'll answer that question. Going from Steelers fan 2010, says, what do you think the ceiling could be for this offense? So two things are going to need to happen here for the offense to hit their ceiling. Number one, this young and talented but unproven offensive line needs to develop. And I completely understand why people don't trust it. Broderick's been terrible for 2 years at right tackle. Mason McCormick really struggled down the stretch last year at right guard in his rookie season. Fautano is even going to be able to stay healthy. Pat Meyer is still here as the offensive line coach. There's reasons to be pessimistic about this offensive line. But it is talented, and there's a lot of talented people in this group. And if all of them hit, then you could be looking at a top 10, maybe even top 5 offensive line in all of football with the pedigree these guys have. And if that's the case, and then you have Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren as a really good running back duo, you're going to have one of the best run games in the league. And then you pair that with a play-action game with Aaron Rodgers, who still has his arm strength, who still has his arm talent, throwing the deep threats like DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Calvin Austin III. Like, the ceiling for this offense is like top 10, like a really good offense if everything hits. But the question is Rodgers going to be any good? Is this offensive line going to develop? There's just a lot of questions. So I think this team has the ceiling of a top 10 offense, but we're just going to have to see how the rest of this kind of stuff plays out. Kermit is my God says, will we get a high comp pick for Pickens if he leaves? Depends on the contract that he gets. All right, so it also depends if the Steelers release him, which they probably won't, unless there's something really crazy that happens. But if he leaves in free agency and he's not released or anything like that, and he signs a large contract, the Steelers would get a high comp pick, probably a third-round pick for him. is probably what I would say. So, yes, if he leaves, you do get a comp pick for him. Then we got Tavares, a man, says, is it concerning that T.J. Watt is not extended yet? No, not really. You know, there's a lot of teams with players that need to get extended this offseason that haven't done it yet. A lot of times these things go all the way up into training camp. I mean, remember last year with Cam Hayward and Pat Freiermuth. I mean, it went all the way towards training camp. So I don't expect this thing to get done really anytime soon, if I'm being honest with you. TJ certainly seems like he wants 40 per year, and I don't blame him. So I think the Steelers are going to continue to try and get less than that. And then they'll eventually cave and pay what TJ wants closer to the season. So let's say you guys, let me know down there in the comment section, would you pay TJ Watt $40 million or more per season to keep him in Pittsburgh long term and make him a Steeler for life? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And some really good questions today, guys. Hadn't done a mailbag in a long time. We've been kind of replacing these mailbags with mock drafts during draft season. So it's nice to get your questions here. We're going to be doing these all throughout the offseason, so make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join us for Steelers Talk Live every Thursday where we film these mailbags and get your question on the show. All right. So that's going to do it for the end of today's show, man. It was a lot of fun today. Talked about Aaron Rodgers, T.J. Watt. Got a lot of useful information for you guys to digest on today's show.
We did get a super chat, so let's answer that before we go.
Did get a super chat, so we'll get to that here. Over 140 likes, still over 278 people watching here.
The Yinzers love them some Yinzers.
The Yinzers love them some Yins. $2 from Brian. By the way, we'll stay live as long as the super chats keep flowing here. Says top 3 quarterback options in 2026 draft for Pittsburgh next year. So this is a tough question because we
don't know who's coming out.
There's a lot of guys that could come out that could decide not to.
I know the hot name right now is Lenora Sellers from South Carolina.
Lenora Sellers is fun.
I love him.
He's big. He's got a huge arm, and he's fast.
Yep.
I think he's going to be so much fun this year.
Drew Aller from Penn State.
Drew Aller, I think, is going to be somebody that's a fan favorite among Steelers fans, obviously, because he's, Penn State, all that stuff, big arm. I would love Drew Aller here, even though he's got a weak arm. I'm just kidding.
Garrett Nussmeier.
What's that?
Garrett Nussmeier.
Garrett Nussmeier. And by the way, I don't actually think Drew Aller has a weak arm. That's an inside joke here at Chat Sports. One of our coworkers once said that he thought Drew Aller had a weak arm, so that's why that's an inside joke.
He's now the host of Patriots Today.
Do your research. But yes, there's also
I don't think Arch is coming out.
Yeah, I don't think Arch is going to come out, but if he does, the Steelers would have to be pretty much drafting in the top, Arch isn't coming out unless
he's not coming out unless he's a top 3 pick.
Yeah, so Steelers would have to be really bad this year for them to, or they're going to have to trade the farm.
I'm trying to think of who else. Miller Moss?
But here's the thing with Miller Moss, okay? He's going to Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Tyler Shuck?
Coach Braum there at Louisville.
Good QB coach.
He has 6 quarterbacks currently in the NFL. Tyler Shuck, his latest one, got taken in the top 40. Mm-hmm. I thought Miller Moss had some very nice throws last year at USC.
I saw him in person.
We'll see what he can do in a pro-style offense there with Jeff Braum. I did get a Cashapp here, so extends the show by a little bit. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Cassie says we skipped Justin's 3-part super chat.
Did we?
F. Coop in the chat? Justin's 3-part super chat?
No, we didn't. We for sure did not skip this. It's this one. Look. We answered this.
Oh, we didn't do it on the mailbag, though.
Oh.
We said we would do it on the mailbag. So, sorry, Justin. That's fault. On Coop. F. Coop in the chat. We said that we were going to put it on the mailbag, and we didn't. But I'll answer this question. Sanders cut before week 1, most likely.
No way.
See, Sanders, I think the chances of him just turning off everybody in that building is higher, especially as a 5th-round pick, where they just say, see ya, kid, is higher than Mike Tomlin going in a darkness retreat or Kenny Pickett getting traded to the Steelers.
I think there is a 0% chance he is cut.
I think there's close to a 0% chance for all of these.
Yes, fair.
I'm saying the highest is Sanders getting cut. Because it's not like the Browns owe him anything.
No, they don't.
5th-round pick. So if he goes in there and he's acting like, the first overall pick, and he sucks on the practice field, and he's terrible during preseason, like that's more likely than Tomlin going into a darkness retreat.
Put away your watches, Shadur.
Like Tomlin is the most like active person any of us has ever met. You think the chances of him going to a darkness retreat where he's going to sit there and do nothing in silence in the darkness for a whole weekend? 0% chance. -% chance.
Mike Tomlin is such a hardo, he would actually hate that.
Yeah, he would. And which is why I'm picking option number 2. DJ KJ coming in with a 5. And he says, when do you guys ship the hat? So we're gonna be shipping them here soon. Honestly, it's a little bit out of our hands because we don't control the order. Our bosses made the order for us. Now it's just a matter of when they show up to the office.
Correct.
So we'll let you guys know when the order comes in, and then when we ship them out to you guys. It's kind of frustrating, but the way it works is they sent the stuff to us, and then we ship it out to you guys. So
we're not yanking your chain.
So you can ask anybody that's won anything on this channel. You know, they get their stuff. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but that's just our process here at Chat Sports. But yes, you guys will get your hats. I promise. Okay, so just be patient, and we'll make sure to get those out to you guys. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Fantastic week of coverage. Can't wait to get back with you guys on Monday and see what kind of storylines we get over the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you guys then. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.